Hi guys, to another episode of the Apex World on Air show. After the summer break, we have quite some news. Let's start what's new on Apex World. We have now 1947 registered users, and ta-da! We had our first birthday, and we started last year at the 19th October. And since then, we had 1,936 users, 530 news, 61 plugins, 59 trainings, 50 jobs. So not bad for 1 year. Thanks to everybody who helped. It was amazing to work with these guys, and they are still active and helping a lot. So it's really fun to work with the team. Thank you very much. What else do we have? We had 2 podcasts out, one from Monty and another one for Rule. Both were recorded in Kscope 16 in Chicago. Actually, Rule is now in the voting for board members. So if you're an OOW member and you want an Apex guy on the board, so please vote for Ro. I did. Then what else do we have? We had 3 members of the month. So one was July, Rodrigo Mesquita. He had 3 amazing blog posts and 1 plugin I actually used. This multi-select plugin, very nice. And Nick Voitard had a lot of blogs post in August, very, very nice blog post. And of course, Maxime Tremblay, finally, 3 blog posts. And actually, he owns the Slack team. So he answers basically every question there. Thank you very much, Maxime, for helping out. Then we showed the quiz, the Apex quiz results. And there are new results coming up soon as we are upgraded to Apex 5.04, because there's a little bug with Apex JSON, I think so. And then we will have not only the overall statistics, so because you never can beat Scott again, he's always on top. But then we have also the weekly results, and you show who was. I actually started to do the quizzes. I thought it was it's a long time you have to invest, but it's only 1 question. It's very tricky, and even if you think you know Apex very well, which I think I do, I had a lot of wrong answers, and it's really worth it to get into this quiz and see the answers afterwards. You learn a lot, even if you do Apex for 10 years.
Juergen, what place are you in that list?
No. The list only goes to top 50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have to add a 0 maybe somewhere.
But just to let people know, you can go to plcchallenge.oracle.com for that, or follow Apex World on Twitter.
Yeah, we have a link in Apex World, of course, to go to the Apex quiz, and there is a new user interface for the plcchallenge challenge or for the Apex quiz, and it's amazing. It's called Aura DevGem. Amazing functionality. It's still in beta, I think, and Steven Feuerstein is working a lot on this, and yeah, I hope this will come out soon, because it's a very, very nice site and great functionality. Then we had our 4th newsletter out. Well, great. And another thing came up, which we linked to from Apex World. It's called Build with Apex. Great idea, guys. I don't know who is behind that. Anybody of you who knows who's behind this initiative? I don't hear anything, so it means no. But it's a great idea. If you have an Apex site on the internet, no matter what it is, if it's done by Apex, just put the URL in it. And even if you know it doesn't have to be your own site. You can suggest any site you see on the internet and say, oh, that's an Apex site, it's nice. Or it doesn't have to be nice. We want to collect there all the internet pages, the internet sites done with Apex. Great idea, linked in apex.world. What else? Yeah, we have Slack news. There is now a functionality where you can have all your unread messages in one area. You can do this with under preferences in Slack under advanced and then turn on all unreads. And we have a new public channel called printing, because this is a subject by its own and people asked for it, that we have a separate channel to talk about the printing stuff in Apex. Yeah, and we also, Adrian managed to invite everybody on Slack to every public channel. This was not possible manually because you had to click every single person manually, invite them, and now we have around 800 people, and you don't want to do this with 10 channels. And Adrian found a great solution with the API, and now you are invited to every channel. What else? Oh, a nice story. Colin Starkey wrote me the other day, and he said, hey, I have to tell you a story about the Apex sticker. You know, I have the Apex sticker on my laptops and in my company, and suddenly a guy came in and said, hey, are you doing Apex? And I said, yeah, sure, I do Apex. Oh, yeah, we're really looking for somebody who's doing an Apex project in our company. And yeah, and he got the project just because he had the Apex sticker on the back of his laptop. So it's really worth it to show. Yeah, I'm always dreaming of sitting on an airport and see somebody opening his laptop and I see the sticker on the back, and I don't even know the guy. So you can get projects just by putting the Apex sticker on your laptop.
So you're saying people don't have to invest in these certification exams or training, just get the sticker and you got a job, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. We should start selling the stickers now, right? That's tangible value.
Too late. It's too late. They're already out for free. So if you want to go, if you miss any show or you want to review all the shows, they are all on YouTube, and you can link them from. They are linked to in apex.world. And the next show is already in. Oh, I haven't put in the date. It's the 14th December. The title is "What Can We Expect in 2017?" And we have a special guest. From now on, we want to invite to every show a special guest, and our first special guest will be Sabine Heimsalt, our Twitter Apex Queen, I would say. I would call her that. Okay. This was everything from my side so far. Today's title is News about Oracle Open World. It's quite a while, I know, but is there anything, guys, you want to tell about? So what was interesting on Open World?
I didn't get to go this year.
You didn't go?
No.
Joe, oh, let's start with the most important question. You never heard when will be Apex 5.1 out? I heard it's postponed. It's not coming year 2016, but it's postponed. Is this true, and can you explain why?
Hold on, let me put on my glasses here, Juergen.
Oh, now it's going to be official.
Per Oracle revenue recognition policies, you should not make any purchasing decisions based upon future dates, nor is it a commitment of Oracle to deliver functionality you might have seen before. With that said, the most precise date I'm able to give to you is within the next 12 months of today.
So what?
Cheers.
Last year it was out. It was at end of 2016, or it was calendar year 2016, right? But this is not going to happen anymore.
Let me put my glasses on again. Revenue recognition policies.
Your glasses on.
Yeah. So I can tell you within the next 12 months, right?
from my point of view, having been on the team, now having not been on the team for longer, or I think this is probably one of the smarter ways to decide when software is released, rather than drawing a date in the sand and saying, hey, on this date, we're going to release what we've got. It might not be in the greatest shape, but at least we could say that on this date we released code. That benefits nobody, right? Is now you've got unstable code released on a certain date, and you're going to have more headaches, and the team loses credibility, and your projects get derailed. I mean, to me, it's just like when they're done, they're done. I don't get all worked up about it. I don't promise anything to customers that I can't personally deliver, which these days isn't a lot, especially from the Oracle side. So I just don't get excited about this stuff. They're a good team. We've seen their track record. They release really solid stuff, and this is always the way that I remember that it's been is we're shooting for this date, but hey, we found an issue a month out. Man, we really need to push it a month or two. And yeah, there's going to be disappointed people, but the product will be better. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But this also means people should wait for 5.1 for projects now, I would say. Because a customer asked me, oh, yeah, 5.1 is coming out soon this year. And I told them, oh, no, I wouldn't rely on that. We better start with 5.04 now.
I mean, what I will say, Juergen, and sorry, just to your point about revenue recognition, I had a customer from Jordan contact me this morning via email, and he said, "Hey, Joe, just on the down low, I won't tell anybody, right? I want to get. I'm talking with a customer. 5.1 would really help me. Can you just, won't say anything. Just give me the date, and it'll help me. And I terribly want to help this partner, right? I really do, but it's actually for exactly that scenario which Oracle has this revenue recognition policy. Because now, what if I say, hey, we're shipping October 26th? He tells the customer this. Customer, they change their plans based on that, and we slip. Is this partner liable? Is Oracle liable? It's really just a dangerous situation. But with that said, I'll tell you, we are working very hard, and as you already know, there's early adopter 2 out there. And we're working quite aggressively on this and making great progress. How's that?
And there will be early adopter 3.
Might be, might not be. Might be. One might not be necessary. That's actually I was in a meeting just prior to this, and that was a topic for we'd like to, but it may not be necessary as well. And so we'll see.
Okay. But we shouldn't expect it this year anymore.
Are you subscribing to like this Apex Rumors? And do you know who Apex Rumors is as well, Martin?
No, why does everyone look at me for these things? I have not built it for Apex. I'm not Apex Rumors. I have no time for this. But Joel, one thing that might, and I know this will probably never happen, but I might as well say it, is I especially on the open source side, I understand that pressure. It's probably not the same pressure, but I do get a lot of those questions. When is the next version of Logger coming out? When is OS Utils coming out? Like, I hear this constantly. And similar to what Scott said, I made that decision. I'm not going to put a line in the sand because then the product's not going to be good. But what I do try and do is it's very visible as to what's going in and what isn't with public milestones, and everyone can see it. So someone just recently asked, are we including some crypto stuff in OS Utils? And I said, you know what, I'd love to, but given the timeline and getting the first release out, we're not. But here's the remaining issues that we have in order for this to get out. So it does give people a bit of a timeline in terms of they see those issues starting to shrink, and also they can actually visibly see what's getting in this, what's getting in the next patch release, and what's getting in the future releases. And legally, probably Oracle Legal might not like that, but I find I get a lot better interaction and a lot less of those questions.
Well, I'll tell you right now, our interactive grid will most likely be in. The Oracle Jet charts, those most likely will be in. There we go. We're done.
Fair enough.
Okay, let's start with this question. What I'm really interested personally is on OpenWorld, all the cloud stuff, it's getting a little fussy for me. So we have apex.oracle.com, and as far as I have seen somewhere, we're going to move that to a different service and don't extend apex.oracle.com anymore. Keep workspaces there, but there will be a new cloud solution on Exadata for free. Is this true?
Yeah, so what we're working towards, and I'll blend this in with the Oracle Open World update as well. One of the things that part of our team has been engaged in the integration and delivery of is this new cloud service called Exadata Express. And for people who don't know, Oracle offered this thing called Database Cloud Schema Service, and even though it was under the umbrella of database service, for all practical purposes, it's an Apex service. No differently than apex.oracle.com, but in a production environment with cloud identity management, etc. And with Exadata Express, it's really the best of both worlds. That is, you get Application Express, you get ORDS, you get Oracle Database 12.2, and you get an Oracle database, a pluggable database that you can connect to as a pluggable database administrator, and you get direct SQLnet access. And this was great because when we talk about database service and managed by Oracle, this is what people thought they were going to get. Is Oracle takes care of all this complexity on the back end. I can use any tool I want that can talk SQLnet, but I also get Apex and ORDS and SOTA, and it actually was a database 12.2 cloud first release. So it is Oracle Database 12.2 and all the functionality and features you get with that, you get with Exadata Express. And that was launched, and Larry Ellison talked about that at Oracle Open World, which was great. Free Cloud is going to be effectively a hybrid of apex.oracle.com and Exadata Express, and that is in apex.oracle.com we do isolation by schemas, right? You get your workspace, and we get our schema. And in Exadata Express, we have isolation by pluggable databases. So I'm in my pluggable database. I can't see Scott's stuff. He can't see mine. We're physically segregated, and it uses a database 12.2 feature called PDB lockdown. So don't let, basically box this thing in. Don't let it hit the network. Don't let it hit the file system. And with Free Cloud, it will be a combination of pluggable databases, and within those pluggable databases, schema isolation that we have. And the goal in this architecture, though, is apex.oracle.com today is one big monolithic database. I think we have 27, 28,000 workspaces. If we tried to crank this up to 50,000 or 100,000, database might groan a little bit. With this architecture, we can effectively distribute the load amongst multiple databases, and so we'll have 4 pluggable databases or 8 pluggable databases, and we want to be able to scale up to 100,000, all through the same entry point. And this ultimately will replace apex.oracle.com. Still on the internet, still for free, and hopefully with a elegant upgrade path to these for-cost services. So you can say, hey, I'm prototyping this on the Oracle Free Cloud. I'm ready to pay Oracle $175 a month for Exadata Express. Can you move me? That's what we want to get to. Right.
Okay. And can I access the Free Cloud with SQL Developer?
That's a good question. I know they're working on some capability of doing this over HTTP. You would not get the same SQLnet access like you would with Exadata Express. So today,
SQLnet or traditional JDBC. So they're working on what's called a JDBC Type 3 driver, which will essentially provide you access to work with the database as though it were like a RESTful service. No ability to span a transaction across multiple statements, but there will be some capability there to work with the database.
Very interesting. So this will also be an entry point for people who just want to play around with the Oracle database, right? Would you suggest to say, okay, I have a colleague who's interested in, I want to learn Oracle. What would you suggest to him? Okay, get this free Apex cloud service, and then you have you can play around with basic Oracle database features?
That's right. I see. Sorry, go
Or is
ahead.
there something else, something different to say? Okay, you can. There's also a free database cloud service just to play around like apex.world.
So it's interesting. Free Cloud will be hopefully used with Oracle Academy and our higher education initiatives, which is great because that's an audience we want to reach out to. And I'll be honest, initially I didn't like this rebranding of apex.oracle.com to Free Cloud. I thought, okay, we've worked so hard for this branding all these years, and now we're going to give this up. But I think it's going to be a good thing for all of us, because if I'm a CIO and somebody says, hey, what's this Apex thing? I never heard of it, right? That my sales guy never talked to me about it. They might be not that inclined to it. But if you're a CIO and you say, hey, there's this free cloud, okay, Team X, why don't you go out there and kick the tires of it? And the fact that we're putting Apex in front of these people who otherwise would never even, Apex, what's that? Free cloud? I'll take a look at that. And even if we convert 5 to 10% of these people to looking at Apex and using it for real, I think that's great. Because on apex.oracle.com today, right, this is not even free cloud, we get 1,700 new requests a week. And these are people, students, kicking the tires. I want access to a database, like you said, Juergen. Let me kick the tires. I don't really care about this Apex thing. And the fact that we're putting Apex front and center, I think is fabulous. The fact that they're using us for a free database on the internet, which they also could use LifeSQL for, I think is great. It's great exposure for Apex and all of us, and awards.
Agreed. And I'll vouch for that actually working, because that's how I got started with Apex, just because it was kind of the front end for the XE database. So I was really more interested in learning SQL, free database, that kind of thing with XE, and that's how I ended up getting into Apex, so it does work.
Great. Anything else on OpenWorld which was interesting?
Can I give a couple of quick things here? Do you mind? The hands-on labs that we had at Oracle World, completely booked, which I thought was great. We had 4 of them. I did attend Sten Festerly from Aura Toolwatch. I'll give him a plug here. The 5 ways of building Oracle applications, and it's really, I think he upped it to like 7 or 8. He usually gives this presentation and updates it at every conference he goes to, and I highly recommend this. I think he's very even-handed. In the past, he hasn't been so intrigued by Apex, and he's really seen adoption and seen the community of it, and I thought he gives a very fair treatment of this. In the demo grounds at Oracle Open World, which is where we have these booths and you can go around and say, hey, what's this? Give me a demo of that. In the entire database demo ground section, Apex was in the highest, in the top 3. I actually think SQL Dev or ORDS was even higher than us, but in the whole database section, Apex was one of the most visited. And I attended a great session from, oddly enough, I can, even though they're not a reference customer, they gave a session from the San Francisco Police Department, keeping the city safe with Application Express and was it OBIE, something like that. It was fabulous, and it very much reminded me of one of the very first projects that we had done with Application Express before it was ever released with a big metropolitan police department. It was exactly the same problem domain that they solved, and it was great hearing these, basically, people who work in IT at the police department, and they're in San Francisco, them giving a presentation on it. I found that very rewarding.
Yeah, started with a police department. I don't say it ends with a police department. Right?
Continues to work with police departments.
Anything else, you guys? Scott?
For me, it was Exadata Express. I thought that was, Exadata Express. I thought that was at least for me, that was the biggest thing to come out of Open World. I was really happy to see that, because there was this line that I heard some folks use at a meetup here in New York City. It was not an Oracle meetup. It was one of our competitors, and the guy said, Oracle doesn't have an engineering problem, referring to the fact that our technology is really great, and perhaps that we have a cost problem. So to see Oracle respond to that,
what was the problem?
A cost problem.
Oh.
So to see Oracle introduce a service that gives you at $175 a month Oracle database, but the Enterprise Edition and with options. Granted, there are still some restrictions, some limitations, and I don't believe the service is rolled out past the U.S. yet, but it's a start, and it's a sign that things are moving in the right direction, so I was really thrilled to see that. Uh-oh, you're on mute there, Scott.
We don't hear you, Scott.
Ah, there you go. I accidentally hit my mute button. I'm starting to see a lot of Apex finally getting the bubble up attention, right? And what I mean by that is, I want to say I didn't go to too many of the Apex sessions. I've either seen them before at ODTUG or other conferences or had other obligations, but there was a bigger number this year than there had been in the past. And a couple of them with customers that I've been working with, actually had Apex in there, but not in the title, where they're looking at doing solutions like reporting, simple transaction processing, nothing too sophisticated in most cases, but it comes down to cost. And to do this with other tools and to set up massive servers that are going to come with high-priced license price tags has become cost prohibitive for them. And then they find Apex one way or another, either accidentally or doing some research or talking to the right people. And like, wow, so for a fraction, a tenth of the price, we could build exactly what we need to and still have the same output for our customers, but we have like $300,000, $400,000 in our pocket at the end of the project because we don't have to spend a ton on licenses. So it's interesting to see the non-Apex groups start to see what it was. I mean, I did an interactive report demo and just floored a group of people, right? Their mouths hit the floor. They were just like, so you could change the order of the columns. I'm like, yeah, I could do that. But how does that get saved? I'm like, it's already saved. You just save here. Right, but we want to add a new column. Like, okay, let me show you how to do computation. Like, that's live. You have to set that up. I'm like, I just set it up. I mean, I'm sorry I can't make this more complicated than this. I could certainly charge you a lot more than I said I would, but it's hilarious just to see that, because we're so used to, kind of working with the same group, and customers who a lot of us work with or internal environments that we work in are familiar with the scope of the solution. But to walk into someone who has a whole different background, a whole different sector, and show them the basics and just watch them be floored by it is just a true testament to what Apex can really do. So I think that's going to sort of be the next phase, is with all this exposure with Express, with Database Cloud, you're going to start seeing people start using it to solve not hard problems, but solve it quickly, elegantly, and in a really nice fashion that has a good-looking solution at the end of it. And just save money.
I realize this isn't Oracle World related, but Mike and I did have a briefing this morning with an industry analyst, and she concluded that Apex is definitely underappreciated at their analyst firm, and encouraged us to reach out to two different groups, the analytics group and another group, that they just weren't aware of it. And so the message is getting out.
I'll just say really quick, I haven't seen any questions in the queue. If any of the folks that joined today have any questions, feel free to ask at any time. We'll try to tackle them as they come in.
Yeah, sure. I forgot to say
And
that.
one other thing to add to Joel's open world comment about being the busiest booth, you guys had by far the worst location this year of any year that I've seen. You guys were all the way in the back corner, and to still get that draw, people are seeking you out. They're not walking by and seeing, oh, what's this cool tool? They're actually looking for you. And again, I think that's a huge achievement for the Apex and even the SQL Dev and the Orgs teams as well, because you guys were tucked in that far corner.
Is that a bad location, though? We've been back way before by the restrooms, and I thought that was the worst. But then again, I guess you get a lot of traffic that way, right?
The point being, you're not front and center. People aren't seeing you because you're up front. People are finding you because they know you're there somewhere and they're looking for you, right?
Yeah, I had a gentleman come up to me, and people they go walking around the demo grounds, and they're like, what's this? And a guy came up to me, and he said, well, what's this for? And I said, well, it's for building web applications. And he said, oh, I'm a DBA. I don't need to know this. And it gave me the opportunity to say, no, you're wrong. You can use this.
Yeah.
And I went about showed him, and so he was pretty. It opened his eyes. I mean, honestly, just to even educate our internal customer base is a goal. I'm still stunned at people who don't know about this, but it's changing.
And we are working on that it's changing. Martin.
Yeah. Well, this was the first, and this is my personal opinion, I have to state that, this is the first open world I went to where Oracle loved developers. In the past, it's been very business-centric or DBA-centric, and I thought there's a lot of news out there for developers, not just Apex, but the whole development process, Node.js, using release management process, using Git, all putting this in the Oracle Cloud. So I found that very positive to see that there's a reshift back. I don't know, Joel, you're looking at me with this weird, this off
No,
look.
I'm not looking at you weird. Yeah. What you witnessed is intentional and intended to be conspicuous.
Okay. It's just, again, my personal opinion, because it's always been. So I was really excited. I liked what I saw out of there. Exadata Express, I got super excited when I saw that. The only thing is, with that service, I still think there's a few steps that need to happen before it becomes mainstream. And I'm not telling Joel and Dan anything they don't know, but when you go to any other provider, cloud provider, to get their service, whatever their service is, up and running, it's supposed to be simple. And after going through this process, it's not as straightforward as I would think nor expect to be. We got it, like we actually signed up for an account. It took a couple of days, finally got it up and working, which is great, but that's a couple of days is not acceptable in today's developer society. But it's getting there. We can see it.
I mean, your order was an exception. I don't want to reveal why it was. But it's not typical.
Okay.
So, have you been to developer.oracle.com lately, Martin?
No.
I don't know if you can pull that up, maybe, Juergen. If you just go to developer.oracle.com, this is kind of just going back to what you said about open world being more developer focused. If you scroll down, you'll see a note here about Oracle code eventually. And keep going. I think it's actually all the way at the bottom. And so this is, yeah, right there. So there's this new roadshow that I guess will be getting underway soon. Can't really see much more about it than that. If you click that Learn More link, you'll just see it's a form to fill some stuff in. But I think we'll see some more developer-focused shows coming to a city near you pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that too.
Didn't know that.
Speaking of which, and a little shameless plug, if you're in Vancouver or surrounding area, we're having a developer day on Thursday. So come check that out. You can just follow. I think it's on. If you search the Apex stream on Twitter, you'll see the full agenda and more information there.
One more open world thought. Rule and I actually, I guess we were in between sessions or bored, went to the Java exhibition hall for the first time. I mean, it's in the hotel we stay at. It's literally 3 escalators up. Wow, what a different world. It's not a bad world. It's not a good world. It's just a different world. Just to see, how they do things, and it just, to us, the two of us looked at each other walking out of there with like this feeling of like, this is all so unnecessarily complex to do. We're a framework for a framework that integrates frameworks with frameworks. I'm like, but after all that stuff is done, what do you have? It's like, well, you've got integrated frameworks. Like, do they work? Well, absolutely. You just have to write the code and compile it and put it on a microservice, and it's just a different way of thinking, a different way of doing stuff. Kind of eye-opening in a way, just to see, the vendors and have them all kind of, wave over, come see what we've got. Got a couple T-shirts, and I got JFrog, which I guess is Toad's cousin. It's a little frog that does Java something or other. But yeah, it was an interesting experience.
Scott, I started going to that last year. I started going up to the vendor hall there, and yeah, they definitely give the best T-shirts. There's no questions about that.
Right.
The really, so that's one perspective you got out of it. One thing I really like, and I always encourage people to say, like, come up there. I got Dimitri to come with me this year. It's almost like I try and bring a friend and show them what's up there. The really neat thing is the speed at which they develop. You are right. There's all this microservices out there. Sometimes I think in the Oracle community, Apex aside, the whole release process is this long manual labor. The way and some of the tool sets that they have there is just absolutely incredible. So I strongly encourage people just to get a different view of how things can be. It's very interesting to go up there.
My favorite was someone was pushing eyeglasses that had some sort of sensor in them that measured stuff, kind of like Google Glass, but regular prescription eyeglasses. Of course, my first question is, what if you don't wear eyeglasses? And she said, well, you could just get sunglasses. And then I said, well, what if you go out? What if you stay inside with the sunglass? It doesn't work inside. And kind of had her at the end of her script, and she just kind of shook her head. And then she tried to scare me and say, well, it could detect if you're having a stroke. I'm like, all right, now I have to buy this because I might be having a stroke? I mean, okay. Will it tell me, or is that something I see in the logs? But yeah, it is interesting, and you're right. It is worth not just going there, but going to the e-business suite over in Moscone South, or West rather. There's a whole other range of vendors that have all kinds of different things set up that integrate with the business suite and some of the cloud apps too. So just it's you wouldn't do this, I think, on any other day. I'm not going to go and spend money and drive around and try to talk to all these vendors. It is a great venue to just sit down and go from booth to booth, spend 5 minutes, hear their pitch. Sometimes you walk away feeling confused. Sometimes you walk away feeling like, hey, what the tools that I'm using are pretty darn good compared to what other people have.
This brings me to two interesting blogs I saw the other day. So one, it's called Goodbye Object-Oriented Programming. Did anybody read that? So somebody wrote, do you see that? Anybody?
Yeah, I did read that. Yeah.
So he's telling, okay, it really hasn't bring us anywhere, and it's a very good article to read. And another one, Dan, you should know that, how it feels to learn JavaScript in 2016. It was so funny.
I know it all too well.
So if you read that and you see, okay, like, oh my God, no, jQuery is not used anymore. Now you need to learn React. Okay, what is React? Okay, then you say, okay, React is, you need to learn something else, JSX. And so I think, do you agree that this is getting in the same direction like we have with Java, like Scott described a minute ago? So there are too many changes, frameworks, and it's getting messy. So I'm really happy that Apex keeps its technology for now 17 years, more than 17 years. And if you go in this Java world and now also JavaScript world, frameworks coming up every month and going every other month, and you don't know, is there a good way to keep on track, or what to do when you learn JavaScript? What do you suggest there?
Is there a way to what now?
Is it a way? So if you read this article and you don't even try to start to learn JavaScript because you say, okay, there's no chance to keep up to date or to become ever productive with this. Because once you have learned something, it's already old and people do doing something else. Is this true? What do you think? And what would you suggest people, especially Apex developers? We don't really care about this development in the Apex in the JavaScript world.
I don't know if you were just breaking up for me. Oh, Juergen left.
Oh, you don't hear me?
Oh.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can't see you though. There you go. So I guess the question is the space really moving this fast, and is there anything? What's a JavaScript developer to do about it? Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
So it does move that fast, and continues to evolve. I think, you know, we are starting to see some forms of stability. So, for example, with React and Angular, it seems like the communities are sort of settling around these two as sort of the standard lower-level frameworks to develop different projects with. But the truth is, I think this kind of churn is going to continue in the community for a while. It does represent a problem, but I think it's one. It's almost a necessary evil. You know, you don't want the improvements, the innovation. You don't want things to stop. You don't want the ecosystem to stall. So I think for now you just kind of have to do your best to keep up with things as they do change, and just sort of know that, you know, in time things will stabilize, and yeah, just sort of be up for learning if you're going to get into the JavaScript world. I'm curious if the same happens, because you related it to Java. Does the same really happen in the Java space? Also, there was a reply to this article that pointed out that really this is not so much JavaScript in general. So this is how it feels to learn JavaScript, but really more targeted toward front-end development. And front-end development is in fact just a harder obstacle to tackle, generally speaking, because it's not just JavaScript, but rather HTML5 and then the frameworks used to work with these technologies that evolve much faster than, say, things in the Node.js world, which still evolves a bit faster than some folks might be used to, but it's certainly not at the same pace or the same scale as what you're going to see in the front-end world. So it's not JavaScript in general.
Yeah, and I have a question for you though, because I you know, people have said, hey, is Apex going to be around 2 or 3 years from now? Because, you know, I don't want to invest now and have to then move off of it 2 or 3 years from now. I mean, if you're a CIO, right, you don't want to have your people invest in something to then have to rewrite it a year or two later, and then a year or two later. So if you're a CIO, you know, where would you even start? Because even if you know, and to say, well, you know, you can hire any good, competent JavaScript developer to pick this up. If you know JavaScript, that doesn't imply you know Angular, and you can do Angular well, and it probably applies to all these frameworks. And so, I'm curious, what would be your recommendation for a CIO as to
most of the folks? So, you know, any organization, any enterprise is going to have a mix of the different types of applications that they need to build. Some will be core competencies, the types of products that they're putting in front of and selling to customers in the wild across public internet. You know, your Google.com, your Uber.com, these kinds of sites. I don't personally feel that Apex is the best tool for that. So for those types of projects, I would probably encourage folks to start at lower levels and build up the solutions that they need. It takes longer, it's harder, and of course you have to choose between all these different tools and put together the right solution that you need, but you're probably going to get a better product at the end of the day. On the flip side, most organizations have a backlog of applications that they simply don't have time to get to, especially if they're working with tools like Java, .NET, and now even JavaScript to build some of these solutions. I think it would be irresponsible for them to at least not take a look at Application Express, especially if they're already an Oracle customer. It's included in their license, to see if they could use that tool effectively to solve some of these problems, or to crank out that backlog of applications, especially those that maybe aren't, that don't need to be so custom. The truth is, most applications, especially those that are built within the enterprise, they're actually quite simple. Maybe a bit more than a simple CRUD type app, but they're not the most complex or sophisticated applications. So I would highly recommend picking a tool like Apex to just tackle those, bang them out and get them done with.
Here's the thing with these blog posts, and they're a lot of fun to read, and I can imagine be a lot more fun to write in some sense, but think about who this is targeting, right? Every kind of media has bias, no matter how you look at it. This is so commie startup-ish, right, that it resonates well with that community of people who are trying to build the next Uber, who are trying to build the next Airbnb, who are just going through these, searching for the unicorn type companies, and have to get an edge up on the last person that tried this awful idea and failed, but they're going to do better because their framework is 2 versions newer, and they're relying on almost the coolness of the technology rather than what it is they need to build. I'm just mentally looking back at all of the projects I've worked on in the last, just year and a half even, and not a single one of them approached requiring anything that Juergen has on the screen right now, because they are simple, boring business applications that need to be done accurately, securely, and quickly. And just doing those 3 things and not having, hey, look, I'm integrating with, React or this or that. First of all, no one that I've worked with even understands what these things are, right? And maybe I just have really old clients that don't get the bleeding edge. But we've gone in and said, oh, you need to process credit card transactions. Sure, we can do that. Oh, you need to build 120 reports and you're going to give me less than a week to do that. Sure, we can do that too. Oh, you want to build on top of PeopleSoft? Sure, we can do that. So really what this doesn't do is pose a question, what are you trying to do? These are, in my opinion, and again, being super cynical here, a lot of these are for solutions for either manufactured or non-existent problems, at least in the scope that I see, where my business customers are, where they just need, like Dan said, a simple, nice-looking report that I can run that'll provide accurate information that last week I didn't have. So keep that in mind when you start talking about these. It really, my big worry now is all the customers I'm working with, I'm starting to see the mess that used to be in Access moving into Apex. And what I mean by that is, hey, here's 5,000 lines of JavaScript that we had some consultant write 5 years ago that when we moved to Apex 5, nothing works. What do we do? Like, yeah, those are going to be problems that we're all going to start to face. And my big push right now is sacrifice sophistication for maintainability. If you don't get the spinny, neat little thing because that's some sort of jQuery plugin that you've had to hack to get it to work, and you just say, instead of this, you're just getting 3 images on the page, click the one you want, but when I upgrade to 5.1, 6.0, 7.1, 7.2, 8.0, etc., all that's going to continue to work, that's a big deal. And unfortunately, it's not cool, so it's a harder sell. So, kick my soapbox off.
For different audiences.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions that came in the queue. What about Oracle Jet? I would say to that, I'm bullish on Oracle Jet within the enterprise. I think, having worked with Angular and some of these lower level frameworks and libraries to put together applications, I'll say that there's still a lot of gaps that have to be filled. And so what, for example, my experience with Angular was, you get Angular and you're like, all right, great, we have a framework, not a library, this is a framework, and so it's going to have everything we need to build web apps. Well, not quite, right? You need a UI layer, so you turn to Bootstrap. But then you realize that the Bootstrap code is not Angularized. So then you got to find a project that has Angularized Bootstrap modules and components, and then you start to put those together, and then you realize that they didn't have charts, and oh, you got to go find another library, and you got to Angularize that yourself, and so on and so forth. So even that framework didn't quite have everything that you needed. Whereas I do actually see Jet as having everything you need. So it's kind of like this full stack JavaScript framework, or a toolkit, as I like to call it, where you can build enterprise level applications using that and only that. And I think that's important, especially in the enterprise, because if every time you realized that what you needed was not included with the framework you're using, you had to go through this approval cycle again or a security review again, you wouldn't get anywhere fast. So it's nice to have a framework that you can use within the enterprise that does have it all. So I think that Jet has a nice future ahead for the enterprise, but it remains to be seen what the adoption will be like in the wild. Another question that came in I think this was regarding the complexity of the JavaScript ecosystem. Will web components help head off the rate of change? I read that YouTube is using Polymer 2 and standard web components. I think web components will absolutely help. Is sort of standardize the way that each of these frameworks is approaching composing various components, and will definitely move us in the right direction. So I guess that's the kind of thing I'm hoping in the future as we sort of evolve the standards. We'll see less churn. And so, yeah, web components are going to be a big part of that. It's a good question.
Speaking of Jet, I have one question by myself. There was AnyChart brought a plugin, an Apex plugin out with AnyChart charts in Apex 5.1, or I don't understand. Apex 5.1 still has AnyChart, right? Joe, is this true? And yes. Why do they bring a plugin? I don't understand the meaning behind it.
Yeah, no worries. I'll tell you. So I met with Anton, the CEO of AnyChart while at OOW, and they released a set of plugins, and it's really helpful for two reasons. One is, and AnyChart will still be included with Application Express, so we still license it. I just answered a question on the discussion forum about that today. So when we license AnyChart charts, we only license a subset, not the full complement. And as well, the latest release of AnyChart, which some would say is, competitive to Jet in terms of quality and functionality, that is not declaratively integrated with Apex. And so they wanted customers to be able to say, hey, we'll do the integration for you. So we'll provide a collection of plugins that support our full chart set, and you can use with Apex 5, which is the Oracle Jet charts, and Jet stands for the JavaScript Extension Toolkit. If you go to oraclejet.org, you'll find that out there. Oracle Jet charts will only be declaratively integrated with Apex beginning in Apex 5.1.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So as Scott Spendolini sent me a text message when that came out, I think it's great for everybody because it really validates our infrastructure and the extensibility of our framework.
Yeah. And the discussion came up again. Somebody said, "Oh, why isn't it free?" And I answered on Twitter, because I want to have new versions, I want to have bug fixings, I want to have support, right? So this brings me to another question. Apex Marketplace. Anything you planning for a cloud marketplace for Apex application?
We have made modifications in Application Express 5.1 to be able to support command line installation of an application, installation and upgrade of supporting objects, and the like. So the future path is for people to be able to host their complete package applications in the cloud marketplace and be able to use them in a variety of Oracle Cloud services. So we've made infrastructure improvements in Apex to ultimately be able to support that. But don't ask me for a date because I'll give you something.
No, don't ask for a date, but
He'll have to put on his glasses.
Right.
we can hope for a marketplace for Apex application in the cloud, Oracle Cloud.
There is an Oracle Cloud marketplace today. There is a customer, actually, I'll give him a plug here, FX Loader. He actually has an Apex solution today already in the cloud marketplace, but it doesn't use the same infrastructure. But there's already an Oracle Cloud marketplace today, and it's our goal is to be able to enable partners to be able to host their applications and have their end customers easily install and upgrade and the like. So it's not a dedicated Apex marketplace, is we would have a place on the Oracle Cloud marketplace, which already exists.
Good enough. Any more questions? Dan, you monitoring the questions?
Trying to keep an eye on them, yep. I think we're good for now.
Any news on our open source, Martin?
Expect things coming, new things coming in 2017. That's all I'll say. But in terms of just a generic thing, Logger's been
2017 or the next 12 months.
Well, I've already got my glasses on. No, I don't have any legals. We keep everything open. You can see the product thing, but there are some people at a high level. There's three main products that have been getting a lot of attention lately. Logger has come back on with a lot of feedback. That will only start development in 2017. So if you have issues or you want something in, now's the time. We already have a very large queue for the next release. Probably gonna have to trim it down so we get out. The OS utils, which is still in beta, that we're hoping to get out sometime 2016. I've isolated down just to bug fixes. Now we've taken out the crypto package, and then PL SQL MD Doc, which we've got to rename. I know you don't like it. Is for those that don't know, if you write JavaDoc as your comments for PL SQL, this tool will extract them and actually generate nice documentation for you very quickly, very fast, and so it's very good for business users, very good for developers because you don't have to rewrite twice. And that seems just more get people interested about it and know about it. But there's a lot of improvements coming in on that.
I'm using it. I can confirm that it's really working. It still produces Markdown for whatever reason. But I'm hoping there will be HTML output soon, and it's great so far. So I love it. So I'm using also very heavily now Logger to its full extension. It's amazing. I think you should do any PL SQL code without at least 20 lines of Logger. You shouldn't do it. So it's really great, and the documentation tool is cool. Yeah. Looking forward to a better name and HTML output. Any news? Last question on to Scott. Any news on CERT?
It's this close.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, people are using the beta too, and there's really no major issues. I just need to put kind of the docs together and get it out the door. But yeah, we use it a lot. I've had people contact me who've been using it for their stuff, and it's pretty solid. So if you do need it now, you could use the beta. It should work.
Do you have a date when it'll support Apex 5.1?
It's been supporting Apex 5.1, right?
So, Juergen, there is one question that came in saying, does Aura Open Source have any plans for a table API? And the answer is we didn't until I got very disgruntled, and we do have one now. So if you actually go on Aura Open Source on the GitHub project, there's something called OS-Tappy. The whole purpose of this is to get out of the religious debate of should things be uppercase, lowercase, spaces, not, how do we do things? The answer is we don't care. So it's very similar to PL SQL Doc, where we're going to go into the database and extract everything about the tables and give you this like a JavaScript array of this, and then you actually create templates using what is it? Not brackets. Jan, what is?
Mustache? Handlebars?
Yes, handlebars, that's it. And so with a handlebar template, you can create it, and it auto-generates the files. So it's not there to beat all the other ones. That's not the point. It's there to let you guys do whatever you want.
Are you writing a handlebars parser?
No, we're using handlebars to do it.
In
So we just
PL/SQL?
find. No, it's all in JavaScript.
Ah.
It's all Node.js. So the Node.js thing will go into the database, fetch the information, come back, and then you just define a template. That's all. You don't need to know even JavaScript. You just define a template of what a package looks like to you.
It caught my ear because I've done this myself. I wrote an updated TAPI generator that does exactly what you're describing. It extracts the metadata and then merges that with a handlebars-based template engine, but it has to go to JavaScript. And so I was piqued my interest because I thought, oh, is somebody taking on the challenge of bringing that to PL/SQL? I think that'd be super cool.
No, the reason why I didn't do it in PL/SQL is because that's the wrong place to put it. What happens then and there's a lot of these things in PL/SQL, but then it only resides, it doesn't version well, right? It should all be file-based so that you can check it in your SVN and you can script it, whereas in PL/SQL it just resides in the database. It doesn't actually reside in a source control system. So that's why I didn't go down the PL/SQL path.
That's interesting. Haven't understood everything, but you're going to explain it to me.
Sure.
Okay, guys, thanks. Thanks for the show. And we see each other on December 14th, same time, with Sabine then, our first guest. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
See ya.